Is it already filming?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You did that last time.
Were you filming the whole time?
No.
You always do that. It is exactly like last time.
It's exactly like last time. We're back.
Hey guys.
We've been
How long
places.
has it been? It's been 2 years. Oh, there's been a lot of shit that's gone on in the last 2 years.
You went alcohol
So,
free.
yeah.
I
So
went away. Lived on an island.
Yeah. Let's get into it. What did you want to talk about first?
In our last video, we were observing like this culture in Australia and the world, but very much so in Australia, of how everything seems to revolve around drinking, whether it's friendships, whether it's work life, whether it's anything. And I think in the last couple of years we've both learned a lot more. I mean, obviously you'll expand on what you went through. I mean, for me, I since then have stepped in and actually become like a coach for women, for women's health, and for my own on that same journey as well. And so I've learnt so much on like a physical but also like a metaphysical level about how this substance really fucks us up. The reason why I got into what I do is I saw this lack of connection in the world, and I knew that we could be more connected. I knew that we could have real life conversations with each other, but I could see the more and more technology moved into our lives, the more and more we just didn't show up for each other, and couldn't even have that responsibility towards another human being because it was just like too much. And I knew that there was so much to be found in connection, and that's what I've built my entire business off. But what if addiction is not about our chemical hooks? Because it's not. Stay tuned for that. What if addiction is about our cage? You know, the solution to addiction is not sobriety. The solution to addiction is connection. And we're all under this impression because 100 years ago they did some tests on rats in a cage with nothing else but water and heroin to choose from, that because those rats only chose the heroin over and over again until they died, that addiction is chemical hooks, and that's all it is, and that's what's going to happen to us if we do heroin or anything like that. Please don't do heroin. This is not an ad for heroin.
Let's just clarify this for a second. Please don't try this at home.
But that's what they tested the rats with. In that, because of that test, we've built the last 100 years of how we deal with addicts and how we deal with addiction and how we treat each other because of that one test. And yet, I'd never heard of this guy in the 70s doing a new test with rats where instead of having nothing in the cage, he built something called Rat Park, where they had, you know, things to eat and wheels to run on and other rats to play with, and they still had the option of the water or the heroin to choose from. And none of them chose the heroin because they had an environment that was keeping them connected. Yet, when that test was done, we didn't suddenly go, we need to rehaul everything that we've been doing. We've just continued on this system that doesn't seem to work. You know, if you're going to design a system to help addicts, you would design the opposite to the system that we use. Like you would not design the system unless you wanted to make it worse for them.
You need something else to do. The purposeless rat is prone to addiction. So like, and it's the same with us, you know, if we lack purpose, if we lack meaning in our lives, then it's super, super easy to fall into, you know, habits like drug addictions and alcohol addictions, because like it's just an easy road to pleasure, but it's, as we know, not fulfilling. And like that's where the disconnect is. It's like you can keep satisfying your fleshly like desires and pleasures as much as you want with that stuff, but there's always going to be a void because it doesn't actually, it's not sustaining and it doesn't fulfill you. You don't need that shit to try and make you feel better. It's all within your daily routines and habits. Like if you've got nothing to sort of keep you structured in mind, if you've got no reason to be on track, if you don't know where you're going, the world will throw fucking distractions at you.
And even that, like what you said, if you don't know where you're going, like we can live every day in a slightly better environment, and we can have little purposes, or we can have a general purpose, but if we're not constantly fine-tuning that, if we're not constantly delving more into that, we'll be picked up by all the little distractions. Like we can have purpose, like we can have, okay, I have to go to my job and not be a fuck up, or I have to look after my family and not be a fuck up, or I have to, you know, I don't know, whatever it is, like show up for my partner or show up for my friend. But it's not enough for that sustainability, because, you know, once you've done that little purpose goal for a little bit, you're going to be pulled back into like, yeah, but this is really fun. This is what makes you happy. Like you can still do this and do this. We have to keep fine-tuning what our rat park looks like and evolving it. And, you know, a lot of the time we get pulled back into that mindset of like, okay, but it's just my chemical hooks. Like we've known all through life that it's chemical hooks that get us addicted to anything. And yet, because of those two different tests, we know that that's not true. And then to even evolve on that, each and every one of us at some stage in our life has probably been to hospital, hopefully not for anything too major. But, you know, even, you know, you might have a grandma who's had to go in for a hip replacement, and you might have noticed that she didn't come out a junkie, but she would have been exposed to, like, morphine. You know, she would have been exposed to all sorts of different drugs that keep you in a state that, you know, makes us feel better than what we currently do. And that's what all of these substances can do, is they just make us feel better in the moment than what we currently are. But we don't just go into hospital and get exposed to those drugs that are helping us get through a surgery or through an injury and then come out needing to find more of that. It's only if we have nothing else to go back to that can happen. And there was another example that I heard used, which was actually the Vietnam War, where most of the men who went to war in Vietnam were, I don't know why I'm always using heroin, but it's just the example that I've learned. It's the running factor, I don't know, but it applies to alcohol
Again,
as well.
don't do heroin.
Don't do heroin. But they all were using heroin when they were at war. And what they did was they followed these soldiers home to observe what would happen, because they were like, holy crap, we're going to have a real problem because they're all doing drugs over at war, and then they're going to go home to their families. 95% just stopped. They just stopped taking drugs because they were returning to connection. It's not chemical hooks, it is your cage. Cage can sometimes be quite deceiving as well, because our cage, especially when we start to open up to living a different way, perhaps wanting to live without this more, our cage can still have a lot of those initial players in there. And it's not like you have to get rid of, I think we said last time, you don't have to get rid of all your friends, but you do have to make the decision if you want things to be different.
Yeah, and you don't even necessarily, like, you don't even need, this isn't a talk about, like, stop drinking, right? It's not. You don't need, like, I would say don't do drugs. Like,
yeah, don't do drugs.
But, like, it's about understanding the why, and for what purpose are you doing these things. You know, like, if you can figure that out and be really honest with yourself, like, it's a very scary question to ask, but if you really figure that out, you'll sort of know what direction to take. Like,
Birds.
Yeah, like, what's your why? I was deeply unhappy with where I was at the point where my drinking and drug use was like the worst, I was really unhappy with where I was in life. Like, I wasn't doing the right things to be emotionally and mentally fit. My life was a mess, and I used that stuff as a distraction, like, and it's the biggest fucking distraction in the world, like, and because it's so normalized and common and it's everywhere and like everybody's doing it, it's so easy to get sucked in. I made a decision that my life is worth more and I have more to give and my life is more valuable than, you know, like destroying all the rest of my chances to do well and messing up my life, like for the sake of a liquid, for the sake of a powder, like, yeah, and a really short-term gain that has huge downside effects, because we all know what a night on the piss does to you. Like,
Massive
it
downsides.
doesn't make us feel good. Like, think about where your potential could possibly be if you stopped distracting yourself so much.
I wanted to touch a little bit on how we get to there though, and I might even go a little conspiracy theory. It's okay to say, okay, well, yeah, like, I want to do more with my life, I know this is my barrier, but it's not just a barrier, it is so ingrained as a barrier. It's like, even the idea of like our system right now, like, it's a broken system. Our system to get people sober does not work because it's all about punishing and shaming and potentially having a criminal record or taking your kids away. There's so many elements to it that stop people from going down that path to actually recover, because it's a whole intricate path. There's not just like, okay, one day I'm just not going to do this anymore. There's so much that comes up on a physical, on a mental and emotional level, and environmental, because of the people around you. And yet we don't have anything in the external system that is going to support us. We have to do it, which is why I think we really wanted to come together and do this again, because there are so many people who are doing it individually and then obviously banding together. Like, I'm not saying the whole system isn't great. The 12-step approach is fantastic. Let's take a recent example. We recently, this year, went into a worldwide lockdown. And what happened was all the health stores closed, all the gyms closed, all the beaches closed, but the alcohol stores stayed open. So the essential thing in our society is to keep us addicted. There is no money to be made off our wellness. There is no money to be made off us not being addicted, because, and I'll go into the impact on our physical body soon, but when we are addicted to, whether it's a substance, whether it's alcohol, whatever it is, we keep going back for more and we keep spending more. So when the whole world locked down, bottle stores stayed open, brothels stayed open, sex stores stayed open. Yay for some people out there. But, and I got my head bitten off for suggesting that they should all close. But they're the money makers. They're how they make money off us. There is no money to be made off us having free access to turmeric and vitamins and, you know, organic fruit and vegetables. But there's a lot of money to be made if we keep ruining our bodies. You boys can probably relate. You know how you call us all crazy? Yeah.
Hey, speak for all the other boys.
There's more to it than just like our gender. We have these things called hormones. Boys have them too. However, women have a ton more hormones than men. And if our hormones get out of balance, we go crazy. And I never believed this until I started to balance my hormones. And I suddenly went from when things were good being up here, and then when things were bad, I was like way through the floor, Like there was no in between. It was just no clarity. To doing some work physically to balance my hormones, and I literally felt like a leveling out, and I was like, oh my god, wow, all this time when I've been like super emotional or super moody or whatever, it's been because there's an imbalance in my body. But we don't get taught this in school. Once again, there's no money to be made off our wellness, so we don't get taught how to keep ourselves well, even in school. If you want more energy, if you want happiness, if you want to look younger, if you want to lose weight, if you want to gain muscle, if you want to sleep better, we need to quit drinking. Because what's happening when we drink is that we're actually poisoning ourselves. We're ripping apart, we're allowing it to rip apart the lining of our gut. So we have this thing inside of our intestines, inside of our gut, which is our gut lining, which is called the microbiome, which is the thing inside of us that absorbs nutrients from the things we eat. It absorbs nutrients from any, vitamins we take, or anything that we need to help us get healthier. But if we're doing healthy stuff Monday to Friday and then we're drinking all weekend, by Monday, our gut can't do anything. And
Still going
so
like this.
you're kind of wasting your money on all the healthy stuff if you're going to be drinking all weekend or throughout the week. So alcohol has toxins in it that accelerate the aging process. We're aging ourselves faster by consuming alcohol and drugs. Breaking down, you're like, fuck.
Oh, dude.
I mean, I want to say that too.
Don't cut that
I'm
out.
like, they get it. It sinks in. It's actually shutting down our central nervous system, which is affecting our brain function, which is why when we get wasted, we make stupid decisions. So there's negative impacts on our dopamine, our serotonin, and our oxytocin. So these are all of our happy hormones, our neurotransmitters that get activated in the brain. But what actually happens is because our brain and our gut is actually connected by one of our major nerves, they've proven now in studies over the last decade that the majority of those good hormones, those things that make you feel really happy, are produced in your gut before they send the signal to your brain to make you go, oh, I feel really good. If we're putting chemicals and toxins into our gut, that connection gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's where poor mental health comes into play.
You got to think about what you're valuing, right? Where your values sit will determine, your life and your focus, and like think about the fact that we are emotional creatures, like, and what we do on a daily basis is like what forms our emotional state.
Know that you've gotten yourself into that state where you're feeling really good and your life is going really well. Usually that's when we self-sabotage and go, woohoo! Let's get drunk this weekend.
Yeah.
But
So,
you
no, but
physically feel it in your
notice
body.
and like exactly that, but like notice the habit. I fucking hate Monday. I'm working this job that I fucking hate. Oh, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. Thank fuck, I can't wait for the week to be over. Oh, thank fuck, it's Friday. I'm gonna go destroy myself and forget about the week I've had. Could you imagine how differently you would be on a Friday if you've had the best week ever, you've hit all your goals, you've made progress, your business that you actually want to be, or your job that you're in, that you want to be in, is going well, you've had a good week. What do you do at the end of the week? You go, oh, thank goodness it's the weekend. I'm going to go for a hike, or like, I'm just going to go and hang out with my friends.
Weekend, or yeah.
You don't want to fucking destroy your life, because your life is good. It's not, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be challenging and there's not going to be hard times. There is, but obviously, like, those hard times are much easier to deal with if you want to deal with them.
We don't value how much a small step can be. Like, we don't value how much just taking one step every single day and the little things can become the big things, because we think that we just have to quit cold turkey, done, can't go back. If I go back, I've ruined it. Like, that's not ever going to work.
100%. Like
It's never going to work.
yeah, and I did a year off. Like where I'm at is that everybody's different. Everybody has to figure out, you know, where their line is. For me, I think the line is like, you know, not having alcohol at all, because it doesn't. I've just realized that it doesn't benefit me in any way, and it really distracts me and pulls me away from the place that I want to be in, it stops me from, you know, achieving the things that I want to achieve, the things that I know are going to really fulfill me and really make me feel happy about myself.
When I have a drink of alcohol now, my body feels it. I can feel the difference, and it doesn't feel great. And I mean, alcohol is the leading attributor to systemic inflammation in our body, and we all know, or if you don't, they now say that systemic inflammation is the leading cause of all illness, of all sickness, whether it's physical or mental. And so what that is that stress in and on the body. So whether it's stress that we're consuming physically with food, with alcohol, with things that aren't healthy, or whether it's the content we're consuming on social media, whether it's the content we're consuming around our friends and the conversations we're having, that's all building up inflammation in the body. It's really breaking us down, and we wonder why we get to Friday and we're so stressed and we need to drink. And the only reason we choose the drink is because it's so ingrained in us, and it does give us a little boost and make us feel good in the moment. But it's actually destroying you piece by piece from the inside. I wanted to touch quickly on the difference between how it impacts the men's hormones and the females, because I've obviously experienced it myself. I've used myself as the human petri dish in the last 6 months, and I'm so blown away. Like
I'll speak for that on the male's behalf too.
Yeah, it helps when a girl isn't fucking crazy. But with women, so it obviously disrupts our development of hormones, which is our whole reproductive system. So whether it's fertility you want, whether it's birth control that you want, we actually have a natural birth control system. We don't need to take the pill, but we don't get taught that. Whether it's you're going into menopause and you don't want it to be all over the show, if we are drinking, we are throwing off that flow, and our body can't do what it's actually made to do and do its thing, so that it's not making us crazy through the process. If we have massive PMS ups and downs, it's usually a sign that we could probably steer away from alcohol. If we have weight fluctuation, if we have pain or irregular periods, if you're a woman and you have 4 glasses of alcohol a week, you increase your risk of estrogen produced cancers by 30%. So if you have 7 to 10 glasses every week, you double that. So that's 60% chance of getting those cancers. It's all about estrogen. So alcohol increases estrogen in the body. So women already have a lot more estrogen than men, and when that is too much in a woman, she goes fucking mental. And so if you're drinking and you're drinking, and this all for women at least started around the 60s, women's liberation movement, we all decided we wanted equal rights, which is awesome. But we all then started drinking the same amount as men as well. And that is when things really started to change. You'll notice that that's also when infertility started to become a problem. That's also when depression started becoming a problem in women. That's also around the same time that the pill was created, and together they just work as a wonderful death sentence for any woman. But then you've got men. So a lot of the same things, where it's weight gain, you'll have trouble building muscle if you're drinking all the time, you get moody, you get angry. So you're boosting your estrogen when you guys should be more dominant in testosterone. You can start to actually have more female attributes. You can have softer breast tissue. Did you know that? So any of you boys out there at the gym, yeah, well, you're not drinking much. You can have a Testicular atrophy.
I don't know what the fuck that is, but it sounds bad.
It's just not good.
Not good.
And again, you increase your risk of cancer, you can lose your hair, there's so much that it can change in the body. And then for both sides, obviously we know our liver takes the main brunt of trying to process alcohol. But why do we need our liver? Our liver has 500 jobs every single day, minimum, more for women. In alcohol, every day, once or twice a week, you're adding all this extra work for the liver to do, and then it can't do all these other things to remove all these other toxins from your body, and that's why we get sick. That's why we get inflammation. That's why we get stressed and depressed. It's breaking us down on a cellular level, on a hormonal level. It's not allowing us to detox from all of the other poisons that the world is managing to get into us, whether it's from the soil, the water, the air, the food we buy at the supermarket. That's a whole other video. There are so many things that our poor bodies are having to process, and so when we add this thing on top, it's throwing us out completely. And how are we ever supposed to crawl our way back to have a good Monday if our body is being broken more and more down with every drink? If you're bloated, if you have bad skin, if you are stressed all the time, if you're depressed, if you have anxiety, if you have hormonal or cycle issues, if you're a woman, or if your partner does, men.
I'm single, by the way. No.
If you have issues like losing weight, gaining muscle, or if you have long-term injuries that you can't recover from, or constant aches and pains, this is not normal. Our human body is supposed to feel fucking amazing. It is supposed to be able to fight off the common cold like that, without any additional drugs or remedies or anything. Our body is so powerful, but we treat it like we're trying to kill it. We treat it like it's an enemy.
There's a really good question that you can ask yourself. What do you know that you're pretending not to know? Like, be really fucking honest with yourself and be like, like, am I in a bad mood because something happened, or am I in a shit mood because I've just had a massive weekend? Or like it's not uncommon knowledge that this stuff fucks with our bodies, it fucks with our emotions, and when we're not feeling good, when we're not emotionally fit and stable, we can't deal with the realities of life in the most productive, efficient way. And we wonder why we get stressed out. We wonder why we get frustrated. We wonder why we're so easily triggered. How much are you valuing this one thing? And what else is it taking you away from?
And sometimes
you
the
have
answer
to wonder.
To that can be nothing. Like, what if you don't have much of a life outside of the drinking circle? That's a really good point. And I think it's that's why it's so dangerous, because it's so common and because it's so easily available. It's a natural default for people who don't know what else to focus on. That's why I'll take it back to the meaning and purpose. Figure out a more inspiring vision, purpose for your life that you can focus on. And the thing is, we all want something more from our lives. We all want something more. Whether you want to travel more, you want to have a better job, you want to have a better relationship or a better family life. We all want something more. I can tell you right now that alcohol is ruining all of that potential for you. I'm not saying quit it. I'm just saying it is 100% ruining your chance of moving from here to here. And maybe no one said that to you. Maybe you don't have that space. But it's not like we're all there's not people sitting at home somewhere having a glass or 10 of wine being like, I've had all my dreams, I'm fucking done. I'm gonna get fucked up now for the rest of my life. There's no one in the world like that. You always want more. And so if you're always wanting more of just one thing that seems to be bringing you round in circles, and you never find that you're reaching any of these other things, that's why.
it's being real honest with yourself and working out your bullshit as well. There's a lot of people that like to, maybe they do it consciously, maybe they do it unconsciously, like to distract themselves with that kind of stuff, because they might not believe in their potential. They might not believe that it's possible for them to have a better life. And I'm telling you right now, it's not true. You have no idea where your potential lies. You have no idea how capable you are if you really, sorted some things out, and if you were committed and put your mind to something,
so
you have
good.
no idea how much stuff you can achieve, how good you can really feel. That's the antidote in my eyes. Like I said before, it's like it takes a bit more time and effort, but the results stick around for longer. The results are you're more fulfilled, and it's a sustaining feeling. It stays with you. It takes a little bit more time and effort to build that life that you're happy with and that you don't want to escape from. You have to, because the other road is way too destructive. Regret and unfulfillment and unhappiness.
Yeah. It's not fun.
And this is another thing as well. It's like if you ask yourselves these questions, and it starts to be a little bit confronting for you, and it brings up things like, don't think it's a bad thing to ask for help. Like, one of the best things that you will ever do, especially for a male, is to not think you're above humbling yourself and asking for help. Like, this is why I've gone down the road that I want to go down, and coaching and mentoring is because people need this space. Asking for help was one of the best things I ever did. You need to find those people that can help you work through your blocks, work through your barriers, work through the things that are holding you back, work through the things that are causing you to feel the need to drink or take drugs as a release.
And sometimes the people that you ask for help, that you want to help you, like your friends or your family, won't.
Yeah.
Because that's uncomfortable. Like, if you're suddenly going from being this person you've always been, who drinks away their problems, they know that's comfortable. And human beings, we don't like to get uncomfortable. Even if it's going to help someone else, we don't like to get uncomfortable. So sometimes we do turn to our close circle of friends and family and say, I want to change, I want to do this, I want to commit, I need your help. And they either fall away, they run away, they tell you, nah, you're not going to do it. It's not really supportive, and we have to be able to see through that and be like, that's okay, that's their stuff, not mine. I'm still going to commit to this.
That's a good point. Find the right help. A lot of people have good intentions, but they're not the right source of help. That's the benefits of having things like coaches and mentors and psychologists and counselors and people. I know a lot of people don't like to think of those things, but they're the right people to ask for help. That's what their profession is. Do you know what I mean?
So how do you find someone who is the right person to turn to if you can't afford a therapist, or you can't, if you don't know where to begin? The biggest bit of advice I have ever been given is don't take advice from anyone you would not want to be. So, and sometimes on top of that, going deeper into that, is that maybe I might take advice from this person because they are financially where I want to be, but in a relationship, they may not be where I want to be. So I'm going to take financial advice from them, but not relationship advice. You need to understand how to break that down. And, we can still accept the advice because we humans love to give and receive advice, but you don't have to absorb it. If you look at that person and go, well, they're drinking every weekend, so why should I listen to their advice? Or they're doing drugs, or they're in a terrible relationship, or they're broke. Whatever it is that you want, take advice from someone who has done it, who has used their body as a petri dish, or who has used their life as a human experiment. to create it for themselves and to find the way, because they're going to give you the right advice that's going to lead you there.
Find the person, find the mentor that's done it before. Find the person that has and knows the information that you need to know. Don't take advice of people, you know, if you look at their life and you go like, well, you know, what do you know? Like, don't take advice of people like that. Just like I would, like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd take relationship advice off my parents because they've been together for however long they've fucking been together, like 30 years or whatever. But like, I wouldn't ask my mum for investing advice.
Yeah.
Don't
The close circle.
ask them because you secretly want them to just like back you up. It's not fucking helpful.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, if we go to the warm circle, if we go to our close circle, with the exception sometimes of our parents or our family who can look at things objectively in some cases, not all. But if we turn to our close circle, sometimes we do that because we know they'll tell us what we want to hear. They'll tell us that we don't have a problem. They'll tell us that we're doing pretty good. And they won't challenge us any further. Whereas someone who has walked that road, who has been through what you are, like, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And that's the shitty thing about creating sustainable change, and that's why most of us give up. Because whatever it is, whether it's detoxing your body, whether it's detoxing your environment, whether it's, you know, getting through an addiction, it's gonna get shit before you get to amazing. That's why you want someone who's already walked that road, because they're going to be like, they're going to call you on your shit. They're going to call you on your excuses. And we've got to be able to take that. But every time we take that challenge and we step over that hurdle, that makes you feel so freaking amazing that you want to do it again and you want to see how much further you can take it. I think that's a really good segue into like how. I think the first thing really is environmental, like having your mentors, letting your warm community know, like, I'm going to do this.
Hold you accountable and lets other people know what you're doing. If like, it's too easy to fall back on a goal if it's only your goal, and if it's only like inside of you, like putting it out there and holding yourself accountable and having other people hold yourself accountable. So you go through a phase of pulling away from one direction and then you're like sorting your shit out. And then once you're on another path with a new aim, you start to attract the people that are along that path as well and have the same sorts of aims.
And sometimes we get so attached to that first step, like that setting up your environment step, because what if these are friends we've had our whole lives? What if these are people we've always known, and we know that we're no longer in alignment with the same values, but we know that if we take this step forward, they may not follow, they may not join us, and that is really hard. Once you allow things to fall away and just know that, it's like that old saying, like, if you let something go, or whatever, like, if it comes back, it's yours. But it's like, if you let things fall away, it creates space in your life for new things to come in, and that literally, it's an energetic law of the universe. It has to happen, so you will never be alone.
At the end of the day, you just have to value your happiness over everything else. Like, just because I'm not drinking and I'm valuing doing other things, like I'm valuing, you know, other parts of my life and being me and being happy, like, if a result of that is that I don't get to see some people as regularly, then I'm fine with that. Like, that's completely okay. The people that really want to hang around and want to be there, they're going to be there. And you'll find that some people like start to drop away, as they do, as you move throughout life, as it always will. If everybody took care of themselves like they actually mattered, you know, you'd have to wonder like what the world would be if we were all, you know, taking care of our emotional state, our mental state, our physical state, our well-being. Like, I don't.
What would the world be like?
All of those things need our attention. The focus needs to change.
Ooh, I like that.
Like, focus determines outcome. What we experience in life is 0.01 or 0.03 percent of reality, which is, to put it into perspective, every second of every day, our brain's taking on and trying to process 2 million bits of information. We can focus on about 4 to 6 of those bits of information. So where the fuck is your focus?
What you focus on grows. Like what you appreciate will appreciate. It's, again, another natural law of the universe. Where we focus is what we create. So the thing is we're all conditioned, like you were saying, the complaints, the gossip, the bitching, the moaning. We're all conditioned to focus on what's not working. Because that's what we're used to. That's our comfort zone. Like I was saying about, your friends not wanting you to change. Like, we don't want things to change. We've been conditioned to not like change. But when you actually lean into change, when you actually lean into discomfort and growth, that's when the magic happens. It's not just cliche. The greatest things are on the other side of fear. It's a real thing, and if you don't lean into that, you will never ever know, and you'll never feel like you can keep going. I think it's really important to touch on what's physically going to happen. I don't know if you came across this, but physically, when you cut something out, you're going to have a physical reaction to that not being there anymore. If we're talking about alcohol, or any of it really, because any of it means that your neurotransmitters aren't being stimulated in the same way that they always were. So you've got to have a plan. On a physical level, it takes a minimum of 16 weeks for our gut, for our body to actually start to detox, to start to regenerate on a cellular level. And when we detox, it's like toxins and bad bacteria, when they start to leave the body, I like to picture them, because some of you will relate, they don't want to go easy. They're like little dudes with pickaxes that are like literally clinging to your insides. There is going to be indigestion. There is going to be all sorts of funny stuff that can happen to your body. And that's why, you see in the world, there's all these like 30-day challenges and dry July and get fit quick, and they're never longer than 30 days because most people get to the point where their body starts to detox and they feel a bit sick, and then they're like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. This feels like it's not good for me. At least 4 months for the body to have gotten itself into a state where it is taking care of itself, where it is able, it's not relying on those chemical reactions in the body from the substances. You've got to flush that all out. You've got to keep going. So you've got to have a plan. When we cut out alcohol, for example, the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be changes in our blood sugar levels. We're going to crave sugar. So you've got to have like healthy snacks on hand that give you natural sugars in those moments. You've got to have some kind of, supplementation or things to actually flush out the bad bacteria, because it's not going to want to go easy and it's going to be clinging to your insides, and your brain is going to make a connection that this is happening because you just need to have a drink. And so what are you going to do? You're going to go and have a drink. If you do not have a plan, you will give up on the plan.
Part of that plan needs to be like having another focus as well. You can't like take something away and not replace it with something else. You need something else to focus on.
Yeah.
That's where like implementing new goals, new habits, like new visions, new things that you're trying to achieve, that'll move the focus into another direction. If you just use willpower, it won't last. Like, you have to have a reason, and you have to want to do it.
Keep
You know what I mean?
going.
Like,
otherwise what we'll do is we'll then replace an alcohol addiction with a phone addiction or a sex addiction or a sugar addiction. And we won't realize it. That's just our brain's really shifty way of being like, oh, they're not feeding me these things that I normally have to get this particular chemical boost in my brain, so I'm going to do that thing because that thing is easier. When the same hit we get from sugar is the same hit we get from exercising, but the body and the brain know that if we switch on the sugar craving, that's a lot easier than going out for a run. So the brain is really, really tricky. It knows what makes us feel good, and it knows what does it in the easy way. we have to retrain our brain and refocus and know when we're being tricked by the brain. We're only processing a tiny, tiny ounce of this world, of this experience. The brain just knows, I feel good, I don't feel good. I feel good, I don't feel good. This makes us feel good, this makes us not feel good. That's all it knows. We're the ones who process the rest.
You start to step into a new place, an unfamiliar place, an uncomfortable place, you will always have pullback, because our body, like, we are addicted to our old self. Whenever you try and change your world, change your life, change the things that you're doing, your body will unconsciously try and pull you back, because it's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to pull you back to a place that's comfortable, even though it might be destructive. It's what you know, and it's comfortable, and it's familiar. And even just understanding that's what that is, it's like you can recognize that pull and go, oh, that's just my body like trying to pull me back to a comfortable place. It's my body being addicted to itself. Okay, I recognize that, but I'm going to step into the uncomfort anyway. And that's really what needs to happen. And the more you step into that uncomfortability and you step into that unfamiliarity, like, the more you push those boundaries of what's possible and what's comfortable, and then your comfort zone will become this, and then eventually you're going to want to push that out even further. And that's what we do though, like, and that's how we expand our reality, that's how we grow, that's how we expand our opportunities, that's how we, see more of the world.
Write everything down, get really, really specific, because it puts it on paper, it puts it out there that this is something that I want. These are my demands to the universe, and now I'm ready to lean in and to get uncomfortable and to do the things and jump over the hurdles, retrain my brain to actually get there. And that doesn't have to mean giving up the fun stuff forever. It doesn't mean having to not ever see your friends again. It doesn't mean having to sacrifice these things.
Dude, I need to say this. Give it. Like, alright. You gotta really question what you think is fun in your life. Because, dude, I use this as a justification for so fucking long. Yeah, okay, a night out on the piss is a night out on the piss is fun. Like, to some extent, depends on what you're contrasting it with. So's going for a trip to Dubai.
Yeah.
Like, so is skydiving. So is
surfing in Indonesia.
So is like owning a big house on the beach with a fucking jet ski and being able to like have the money to do all these
being
other
able to take
sorts
all your
of
mates on holiday.
The box that so many of us have created for fun is like this fucking big, and like that's just a massive distinction as well. It's like, how much of that fun is keeping you from the rest of the fucking world. There's so much more fun. And you don't realize how fun it is to just be healthy and happy and like and just feel good, like, naturally.
We have forgotten how incredible our body is designed to feel. And there's even like a stigma on being healthy now, where people are like, oh, you're really healthy. Oh, and it's like, you laugh at them, but you have no idea.
And I like feeling good, and I like being healthy. I like the fact that I'm not stressing about money anymore.
Yeah, and there's all these people out there in the world saying you've got to do the work, you've got to, figure out your emotions, you've got to do all of this work on yourself, which is great. But if you're physically breaking your body every day, if you're in a constant state of hangover, if you're constantly just feeling sick or shit or depressed, you can't get to all of that mindset stuff. You have to be in a great physical state, whether that's going to the gym, whether that's eating healthier, whatever it is, removing the toxins. When you get into that state, all of that stuff is so much easier to absorb and understand, and that gets really fun.
Fun now is like aiming for a place of complete freedom where I'm like not just trying to fucking survive this life. I'm actually willing to help out and give back and thrive.
Fill your cup and share from the overflow.
Yeah, like so many of us just live in a state of survival. It's like get through the week and get by and just survive, and like.
And if you feel like you are in that state of survival, like that fight or flight, like this is how it is, it's just what I've got to do, like, can't change it. You can. We can all change it any given moment.
Yeah.
But we have to make that decision, we have to commit to that, we have to make the change. We have to create that expectation in our community, in our environment. We have to have a plan for the physical aspect of what's going to happen to our body, to our brain when we start to change the way we do things. And if we have to have these things in our life, like, look into it, know what's going to help you and what's going to hinder you. Like, if you must reintroduce alcohol, like if you choose to remove it, if you want to have less of it, if you choose to have it there, like, know things. Like, most of the alcohol is not great, and women really should just no-go altogether, and you'll be a much happier and healthier human being. You know, things like a vodka, a gluten-free vodka is the best kind of spirit that you can have, because it's not, the gluten is heavy on the gut lining, and if you get a triple distilled or something, I think it'll give you a buzz a lot quicker, which means it's less work for your liver because you're not drinking 10 drinks to get the same buzz. Having like citrus and like sugar-free sodas in the vodka like actually helps to alkaline the alcohol so that you're not having more acidity introduced into your body. And no sugary drinks, no sweet drinks, no, like, there's so much that can poison us in just the mixtures that we put it with. If you're going for wine, have organic wine. Do you understand how many chemicals and pesticides are inside like a non-organic wine? And unfortunately, and this is what really hurt me, is that beer is the worst of all. Beer is like the worst poison ever, because it's the one that increases the most estrogen in your body. So boys, unless you don't want to have man boobs when you're old, cut the beer now.
You know what's funny? Like, everyone that's watching this should look up the origin of the word alcohol. Just look it up.
You're not gonna
Nah,
stand on
why?
that.
Yeah. It comes from I think it's Arabic, but the original meaning of the word means flesh-eating spirit. It's actually what it means. It's the origin of the word alcohol. In Arabic, it's like alcohol or something like that. I don't know. Just an interesting fact.
Spirit.
Flesh-eating spirit. It's
Ugh.
fucking poison, dude. Like,
Just cut the poison
and
and come and have fun.
have a beer, have a wine. Just don't let it consume your fucking life. Don't let it distract you from being all that you can be, from pursuing your real wants, your real desires, your real passion. Don't let it hold you back.
If you're adding to your depression with a depressant, where do you think you're gonna go?
Yeah. What does alcohol mean to you? Like, and be honest with yourself. Like, it'll really open your eyes to the deeper sorts of reasons as to, you know, why it is you're doing what you're doing. Because there's a huge difference in behavior. There's a huge difference in emotional state behind, oh, I'm having a drink to celebrate, and I'm having a drink because I've had a fucking shit week. There's a huge difference in that.
Because if everything in your life suddenly fell away and all you had was your addiction, like, is that how you want your life to go? Can you write a love letter to alcohol right now? Or are you going to start that letter and be like, huh? Like, the solution to addiction is not sobriety. The solution to addiction is connection. So how can you be more connected in your life? Whether it's learning about your body, learning about your mind, learning about your friends, learning about your job, learning about what more you could be in this world, learning about your skills, your purpose, what you could create, writing that list of everything that you want. Don't be afraid of how powerful you can be. Because who knows, we may have one life, we may have many. But right now we're here, and we have such an opportunity to be so much more than a bunch of people sitting around poisoning our incredible human bodies that we've been given.
I think there's a good thing to think about, like, just see where your potential lies. Just have a go.
I'm cold and I need to pee.
Yeah. Yep. I'm done.
Sick.
Don't do heroin. That's what we're really trying to say here. Don't do heroin.